Welcome to our program, Growing Minds. CYC and Light for All, Light for Orphans, united together to help parents and servants how to parent better and serve better. I think the most important investment we have is our children. This program is geared towards children and teenagers. We have had the chance of putting together one of the most amazing faculty that I'm very proud to have. Tomorrow you'll be hearing from Sylvia Farr. Sylvia Zaki will be the speech therapist and will be speaking about autism, ADHD, and the spectrum. Dr. Christina Gaibi will be training as a trainer in resilience. She will be speaking about resilience for our children. You probably have heard from Dr. Mina Merham last week about anxiety, stress, depression, and all the gamut of hyperactivity. I'm very honored and happy to have today Dr. Adly Youssef. Adly is a pharmacist by training. He's a certified coach, and he is also a life trainer for the families. He is one of the instructors for the family seminar in the Southern Diocese. One of the things that we would like you to be aware of, that there is a QR code through which you can really reach out to us, to any of the speakers, whether they finished last week or they will come back next week or the weeks after. And I promise you we'll try to get the answer to you as soon as possible. Should you be able to also solve a question that's usually very easy at the end of each lecture, you will be able to get a certificate which is signed by Father Dawood Lamai to certify that you attended the course. Without too much delay, I would like to introduce to you Mr. Adly in a very interesting topic that I would like him to really introduce himself. But basically, how can a parent become a true Christian warrior and a true Christian parent? Adly, I'm very happy to have you today. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hani. It's always a pleasure, and I believe it's also a blessing that God is allowing for these kinds of opportunities where we can work with and learn from several parents and servants as we all strive to raise godly children. So as you mentioned, I will share first my slides, and just want to make sure we go to the slideshow. Okay, so as you mentioned, Dr. Hani, what we would like to tackle today is actually a repeated question that seems to be pressing hard in the minds and hearts of many parents and servants. And the question is, why does it have to be so difficult? And actually, many parents describe it as the constant feeling of being in a blender with the kids, with the problems, and the blender just keeps going around and around, hitting them here and there. And the outcome is nothing good, nothing that they really like. And I'm sure many parents who are watching us, they might relate to this feeling, especially if there's hardships, there's connections that are somehow broken, or there is health issues in the family, etc. They will have the same feeling, the same question. Why is it so difficult? And to tackle this question, I would suggest that we take a pause. We get ourselves out of this blender and let us all review our parenting role and responsibility from a different perspective, from God's perspective. It's almost like asking God, what kind of parent would you like me to be? What would you like me to do as a parent? And in the Word of God, we will find this repeated theme, this notion, like we find, for example, in Matthew chapter 11, Let me just show you here. Yes. So in Matthew 11 and the verse 29, he says, learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart. And again, St. Paul in Corinthians, he said, we are ambassadors of Christ. And in John 1, 2 and the verse 6, he says, who says he abides in him ought himself to walk just as he had walked. So there is a notion of representation of Christ, a notion of learning from him, imitating him, and being ambassadors of Christ who are able to emulate and able to portray these traits of the perfect Father in his kindness, in his meekness, gentleness, and so on. And this in itself is not easy. It's very difficult. The parent, myself, who is in his sin, in his own tendencies, natural instincts, and habits, I need to get rid of all this and transform into the virtues and the traits of the perfect Father as best and as much as I can. That's not easy. But moreover, we see in Psalm 127 and the verse number 4, we are actually asked as representatives to be also like a warrior or like a mighty man. He says, like arrows in the hand of a warrior or a mighty man, so are the children of one's youth. And here he is describing the parent as a mighty man who is in the battlefield fighting for his kids and always there as the warrior, as a strong person. So we ought to ask this question. In what ways is this warrior strong? How does he think? And what does he do to show strength? And maybe from that perspective, we can try to understand, we can try to embrace these difficulties, looking at our role from that point of view. I would like to share with you 4 ways in which this warrior is showing strength, and it will help us understand what does it look like to be this kind of mighty warrior or mighty man of war. The first point is, this warrior is always shooting towards the heavenly kingdom. There is a well-defined target that he knows and that he is always shooting towards. What does this look like when he's parenting? In his parenting, you will find that he is always focused more on the long-term outcomes, not on short-term fixations or modification of a behavior or controlling this inconvenience because he doesn't want the kids to annoy him at this time. Yes, we sometimes need to do this, and we do it. But the main focus, the effort, and the time is on those outcomes. He is concerned more with the heart and the mind transformation that lasts forever. And there are many ways to do this, but one of the most important ways that I recommend is to have the discussion with our kids around 3 important life questions. The discussion is with an intention that the kids understand and embrace the answers from our biblical point of view. And the questions are the following. The first question is, who am I? It's a question of identity. The second question is, why am I here? A question of purpose. And the third question is, where am I going? Now, when we ask our kids these questions and we have those solid answers that act as anchors in the middle of all the storms and the challenges that we face, this will help us a lot, and we can always get back to them as our standards. Who am I? A question of identity. If the kid embraces the idea that I am belonging as a son or as a daughter of Christ, I'm belonging to him, then we can also add the idea of we're not belonging to this world, we are sojourners, we are pilgrims, just as St. Peter says, and all this makes us like able to reject any idea or any thought in this crazy world that is trying to attract us towards different identities or different belongings. Again, the purpose. It is very sad that we see many kids just living without a purpose and following the saying that you only have one life, so you better live it to the fullest, you better do whatever you want because you will die anyways. So it's like, let us eat and drink and be merry. This kind of thoughts. No, but I understand and my kids understand that we are here for a mission. God has given us talents and gifts, and He wants us to use all this for the glory of His holy name. The third question, of course, is a destination. We are called to this eternal life. Anything on our journey that helps us go this direction is more than welcome. Anything that hinders us, we need to reject it. And we see these kinds of discussions or understandings, we can always get back to when we have rough arguments or when there are thoughts that are attacking us and our kids. So the warrior always shoots towards this heavenly kingdom, and he helps the kids always to think of things above, like it is said in Colossians. Set our minds on things in heaven. This is number one. The second point, we see that the warrior is seen wearing the armor and not just talking about it. What does that mean? There's a question that I sometimes ask in the coaching sessions to the parents who are attending, and the question is, what are the top 5 things that you would love your kids see you doing? Now think of that for a moment. The top 5 things that you would love your kids see you doing. And the parents would answer this question, and the answer would rotate around, I would love my kids to see me praying, doing something good to a friend, spending my time wisely, or speaking in a calm and positive manner, and all those good things. And then as the discussion goes, there is this realization among the parents that, wait a second, I would love that my kids see these things, but how often do I do them? And how well do I do them? And this creates in them certain decisions or steps that they need to take or changes that they need to do. Because the truth is that children learn what they live much more than what they hear. And it is very interesting to see that the apostles themselves asked Christ about prayer. When did they do that? Right after they saw him pray. They saw him pray, and it's almost like it intrigued them and attracted them so much that they wanted to do the same. He was role modeling something so good, and they asked him, how can we do this? How can we do the same as what we just experienced? So, again, the warrior is seen wearing the armor and not just talking about it. Unfortunately, many times we do the opposite. For example, we would bring the kids, give them a big lecture about self-control. We should not be shouting like this. And maybe 2 hours later, we are in the car and someone cuts into the lane, and then the parent who is driving just bursts with anger. Now the kids sitting at the back, they're thinking, isn't this the same parent maybe 2 hours ago just telling us about self-control? And now, what is he doing? There's something wrong, it doesn't match. Or maybe another example, I'm telling the kids about the screen time limit and how important it is. And then I'm not really willing to share my own screen time at the end of the day. This is something to think about. But again, the warrior is seen wearing the armor. He is not standing in the back lines telling the young warriors to fight and how to fight, and this is the advice and this is the instruction. But he is actually there in the front row, wearing the armor all the time, fighting for his kids and showing them how to fight. This is very important. The third point, the warrior encourages and upholds his troop members, especially the young ones. One of the very important words or phrases that I always hear my dad say, he says in Arabic, التشجيع زي السحر. Encouragement is like magic. He does not only say that, but he is always and has always been the one who encourages us in many situations in life. And I ask the question, why is it important and crucial to always be encouraging our kids and upholding them? I can think of 2 important reasons that I would like to share. The first, we need to do that all the time and as best as we can, because the nature of the war itself, it's very tough. It's very tricky. We are at battlefields at different sides and in different front lines, and it is always changing. It's even getting tougher and tougher. The enemy is very tricky, deceptive, he's a liar. And we know that this is tough on our kids, and of course on us. The second important reason is the abilities and the strength of the young troop members in my family. They're still under construction. I look at them and I see this label as if they're saying, Dad, please be patient. I'm still under construction. The faint-heartedness is there. They're still scared, weak. They need time. They're making mistakes. They need lots of patience. And this actually is very well aligned with what St. Paul says in the Epistle to the Thessalonians. He said 4 things which I really love. Warn the unruly, encourage the faint-hearted, uphold the weak, and be patient with all. So as warriors, we uphold patiently. We is warn, and E is the encourage. So always remember this. And the second point in this part is, how do we actually encourage the kids? If we know that the kids need encouragement, just like our cars need gas, it's so important for them. How do we encourage? Many of us would say to the kids, good job, well done, I like what you did, that's a nice thing, and so on, these kinds of phrases. But there is a very effective way that sounds like this. I would like us to think about it and actually try to do it more and more. It is very influential. It helps our kids, just like we're going to see now. For example, Mary, I like how you brought all the toys back in its place when everyone left, and I saw you doing that yesterday. What you did with this keen sense of organization and tidying up is really something good. It will help you grow into a reliable and responsible person. Please keep doing that a lot. Well done. What I just did here is actually 3 things that are combined into one phrase or sentence. The first is I mentioned specifically what the kid did. Then I gave it a name, this value, this principle, this skill that I want the kids to learn. Organization, the sense of keenness on being tidy or clean. And then I help them understand how this value can have an influence on their life in the future. When you grow up, if you continue to do that, blah, 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 etc. So the kids are looking at this or are perceiving this as, I did something, it was well noticed, and this can help me as I go or as I move into adulthood. Another example, Mark, when you went yesterday to your daughter's room when she was a bit down after what happened with her friend, I saw that and I liked the way you talked with kindness and compassion. You know what? This way of talking is going to make many people love to listen to your advice or come to talk to you when they're not feeling good. That's an amazing thing. I really like it about you. Again, what he did, the name, kindness, compassion, and how it will help in the future in his personality and his life. I encourage everyone to be on the outlook for even the smallest things that we can encourage our kids for. And we use those steps. I noticed this. This is cold, and this will help you in the future in that manner. I know it is not easy. And sometimes we even see parents, when we say this, that they tell us, but I am the one who need help and encouragement. And they are right. This is so true. No one can even start to say, oh, I understand your feelings. It's so hard for you. No, it's only them and God who knows the hardships and the many struggles that they are going through. And that's why the 4th point is extremely important. The warrior understands and is fully convinced that he cannot do it alone. So what does he do? He becomes a prayer warrior. What does that look like? He comes to God and knows his weaknesses and limited abilities, so he confesses humbly and says, I can't do this alone. I need your strength and grace. I just can't do it alone. I will never forget this story, and it always comes to my mind. It was told us by one of the priests when we were back in Kuwait, maybe over 20 years ago. And Abuna told us that when he was taking confessions, a man entered into the room and he asked if he can sit down. And he sat down and he started weeping for 3 or 4 minutes and wept and wept. And Abuna waited until the man was really calm and he asked him, Malak Habibi, what's up? And the man said, I just want to confess everything, Abuna. And Abuna says he didn't actually recognize the man. He didn't see him before in the church. So he asked him, how long have you been here in this country? And the man says, for a few years. So Abuna asked him, and for how many years have you not, or when was the last time you visited the church? And the man says, for 42 years, I have never been to this church or any other church. So Abuna was a bit surprised. And he asked the man, how old are you, Habib? He said, I'm 43 years old. 43 years old, and he's 42 years, so maybe only one time or two times when he was a baby, he entered the church. And the question that is really mind-boggling for me is, what could have happened that made this man come with these feelings, with these tears, with this desire to confess and repent like that? Who and when and how that made him do all that? No one, except the loving kindness and the grace of God that visited him in this moment. So we come to this God that we know and trust in, who does things like that, and we tell him, you know what, God? There are things that we can't change, especially in the heart. You are the one who captures the kid's heart and our hearts. And when this happens, we are led by the Holy Spirit, and everything else falls in its place. There are places that the kids are going to be at, and we can never be with them. Who's going to be with them? Who's going to protect them and take care of them? There are things in life that the kids are going to be exposed to. We will not be able to prevent them. Who's going to do that? Who's going to protect? It is God. And this is our belief. This is our trust. We tell him, God, you know what? We talk a lot. We talk more. We shout a lot and we repeat ourselves. And things are not working well. And we hear about you when you talked only 2 words. Only 2 words. And you said, follow me to Levi. When he was in the midst of the things that he loved and his possessions, his money, and then you told him, follow me. What kind of word or what kind of tone of voice, body language, manner of speech, how did he look to him? We don't know. It is this attraction, it is this invitation from Christ at these moments that can help everyone change. And that's why we go to him. If we trust in this, we always go to him. And it's not like hours of prayers. No, it is the companionship on daily basis. We go to him and we understand that parenting has a lot to do with humility and our confession that we are weak. We tell him, God, it is not anymore about our qualifications. We understand it is about our sanctification for us and for the kids. And that's why we want to partner with you. You are the one who is perfecting us and the kids in the same time. So please help me stop this foolishness that I'm doing so I can join you in your wisdom and your works that you are completing for us and for the kids. This is the heart of a parent and a warrior who is confessing that he cannot do it alone. He becomes a prayer warrior. So let's have a look again at the warrior and see those 4 points. The warrior shoots towards the heavenly kingdom. The warrior is seen wearing the armor and not just talking about it. He encourages and upholds his troop members, and he understands that he cannot do it alone, so he becomes a prayer warrior. I would like to remind everyone at this point that we have a QR code on the screen. You can always send your questions. I will try my best to answer them. during the session or at the end. So let us look at some questions that came in the session. Okay. We have a question saying, my 14-year-old son used to be a deacon. Now he refuses to go to church. Should I push him or punish him? Very good question. And I want you to decide based on asking yourself these two important questions. Actually, anything we want to do with the kids or any approach we want to take with the kids in any situation, we can always ask those two questions. The questions are, what I'm going to do with the kid now, right now, how is it going to help our connection? And what will the kid learn out of it? Again, what will the kid learn? And how is it going to help our connection? Is it going to make it stronger? Is it going to build bonds between me and the kids? What is the kid going to learn? Now you say, should I push him? Should I punish him? If we push him, what's the answer to those two questions? If we punish him, what is the answer to those two questions? So we can actually be the judge. We can see how this can lead us to a negative outcome, and we stop what we're doing. We think of other options. And the option that I'm suggesting here is to have this discussion, which is called focus on solution. And many of the parenting issues that we have with the kids can actually be dealt if we focus on a solution. And we focus on a solution by talking with the kid, telling him about this issue. We have an issue now that you are not going to the church, okay? And we would love that you continue to go and benefit from the liturgy, from the prayers, etc. But we want to understand what is stopping you from going. This is number one. What could help you go? Because we can find that there is a reason it's hidden in his mind or in his heart. Maybe he didn't share it before. So we're giving him the chance to share. So what could help you? Who can help you? What are the things that we can do to help? It could be he doesn't understand. There are kids there that told him something and made him feel bad, etc., etc. He is the one who needs to tell us. We are just there to help him focus on a solution that can help. But we set a standard that we need to go and we want to help you go. Now, is this going to solve the issue from one time? No. Most of the times when we tell parents a solution or an advice or an approach, which is a positive approach, they tell us, I tried it, but it didn't work. And this always brings us back to the idea of long-term parenting, of trying again, of trying differently, of trying at different times. It's not easy. It's not one-time solution or fixation that will happen now. That's very important for us to understand. Another question. My daughter refuses to go to church when she has her period because she tells me every one of the boys know and they make fun of her. What do I do? When girls share their feelings, anyone who has girls or is dealing with girls, especially girls, they share lots of feelings. It is very important for us. The first thing to do is to validate and acknowledge this feeling. Before offering solutions, before saying, why are you doing that? It should not happen. This other thing should happen, and so on. Yes, we're going to go into this. But please, let the first thing be, I understand this could be tough. It seems that there is something there that you really are stuck with, or a thought that is making you scared. I can understand that. Tell me more about it. And she talks and she shares. It is enough to deliver a message at this time that dad understands, that mom knows how I feel, even if we don't offer a solution. Please remember that we are building connections here. Yes, we want her to go. Yes, we want her to enjoy the liturgy. I'm not saying we don't want all that, But I'm saying the approach is important. There are certain outcomes that can happen now, and others we will achieve later because the connection is being built. The feelings are being validated first, and then we take another step next time. I wish with all those answers and in every coaching session or every discussion with the parents that we can give a solution that we're going to do now, like a tablet, take it, and then next day, in the next 8 hours, you will have everything fixed with the kids. It doesn't and has never worked like that. But what we can do is positively and peacefully connect with the kids on an ongoing basis and tackle the issue again with the same approach. And here she says, the boys know and they make fun of her. An important question also is to ask, what's your thought about this? What does that make you feel? What's more important for you, the words and making fun from some boys, or the value of the liturgy and what God is thinking about you or wanting from you? We are helping the kids think. We're helping them decide for themselves. Again, it's not always straightforward. But in my mind as a parent, and I would love to encourage you to have the same mindset. I want every encounter to build connections. I want every encounters to add something to our communication and our relationship and our bonds. So the kid says, you know what, Dad didn't force me, but he actually made me feel comfortable to come and share. In the future, when I have something like that, I'm going to tell him or tell her, tell mom my feeling. That's an important outcome. Another question, how to deal with a teenager who is on the phone 6 or more hours per day? Well, that's a very big topic. And actually we have, I think, 2 sessions at least for screen. And I would encourage you that you always follow the announcements, because this is a very important topic that we have a specific session or 2 for. But in short, again, you cannot force, you say a teenager, you cannot force them to get off the screen, and you cannot punish them, because the question that I just asked, what is the outcome in the connection, or what will the kid learn from all this? So I'm just telling you to avoid these kinds of approaches. And please be on the lookout for the sessions that are upcoming, specifically targeting this point. Another question that came is, as parents, sometimes I feel I don't have authority to say no or prevent my daughter from making a wrong decision. Can you tell me how to say no when it is important to do so? Very important question. I feel I don't have authority to say no or prevent my daughter from making a wrong decision. How to say no? Sometimes the kids are presenting to us the situation in a manner that is very strong and very convincing, and they are already made the decision. So we are confused. What should we do? If we tell them no, then maybe we will hurt their feelings. They already made up the decision. They have everything arranged. And if we don't say no, they are going to harm themselves. So what can I do? The first important thing that comes to mind here is to discuss the truth about this thing. Okay, so you're saying you want to do this. Okay, tell me what is true about this in terms of positives and negatives. Do you know what is true about it? How can this be a positive thing? In what ways can it be a negative thing? I think it is very clear, because you see how this can affect you in that manner and manner. So why are you taking this decision? And if this doesn't result in anything that you want to prevent, then as a parent, if there is harm, when there is safety, I need to stop this, because it's my role to protect my kids. When it comes to safety, we have to be firm. Sorry, you know how much I love you, but the answer is no. I'm not going to allow you because I love you. and this is harmful. Maybe you don't see the harm now. That's okay. You're still young and you're not mature enough to understand the harm that may come from this. But because I'm your parent, with the experience and with things that I have went through, I would like to stop you from doing this because I love you. And you see how many times I say because I love you? The answer is no, because I love you. The answer is no, because I'm preventing harm and because I love you. So with this repetition, the kids understand my no is for this reason. Okay. Another question. We have lots of interesting questions, actually. My son is insisting to have a big tattoo over his biceps. He keeps saying that most of the kids do it. Wow. Okay. Discussion, focus on solutions is our way, is our approach. When kids have these desires, these needs, I'm going to force, I'm going to punish, I'm going to shout and yell, or I'm just going to let go and let them do whatever. These two approaches, where I'm either permissive or controlling the situation excessively or aggressively, will not give us any outcome. We need to discuss with the kids. Tell me why. Tell me what is good. Tell me what would God say about this. You say your friends say this. What do you think God would be wanting you to do? And we need to hear from our kids. Again, our connection is the main target here. We lose connection, we destroy or we destruct our connection when we choose to talk in a different way, other than this positive, focusing on the solution manner that we are suggesting here. Okay. My husband disagrees on my way for parenting. We try to have a unified approach, but it is not working. I know we need to avoid this, but sometimes he is right, and most of the times I am right because because his land longer with the. I'm not sure if this is the word. Okay, what do you suggest? So, in essence, there is a word that is missing, maybe, but in essence, different ways of parenting. We try to have a unified approach. It is not working. The problem with this is that the kids understand it and they perceive that there is one side who I can go and take what I want from, and the other side I can also go at another time to take what I want from, and this is not healthy. The importance of a unified manner of parenting is always there to help our kids feel that this is a safe place with the same principles, with the same beliefs and the same truth that are shared in the family. So one way to do this is for each of us to ask the same questions again. If I'm insisting on this, and this is my approach, how will this help the kid? What will he learn? So please, let us not be stubborn, or let us not be fixed on a situation or on a manner that maybe we inherited or we got used to when we were kids and we saw our parents doing. It's important to adopt and acquire and try to change our approaches so that they can help the kids learn and they can help build more stronger connections with our kids. In this kind of rigidity or this kind of my way, and this is what I see right, and this is how I have been raised, and they should be doing the same thing, it doesn't really help. Let us all, each side of the mother or the parent or the father, let us all think about this individually. And if we ask this question to the other side, for example, I ask my wife, or the wife asks the husband, let us ask these questions. What do you think is going to happen to the relation between you and her, or between you and him? So what is he going to learn from this? I think we should revise, or we should review the way. It's not going to be helpful at all. These kinds of discussions and these questions, when they are raised, are very important and helpful. Question that says, we have never prayed together as a family. My kids are teens now. Is it too late to start? Of course, the typical answer here, it is never too late. But when there are teens and there is a habit that has not been built, it's going to be difficult. But is it impossible? No. How am I going to do it? How am I going to approach it? It's very important that we have a discussion about it and the kids are involved in a way to start. We want to start this, guys. It's very nice. We haven't been doing it. It's nice to stand together and say a prayer together. What would you like to do? What's your suggestions? Which psalm or which prayer would you like to have? How many minutes would you like it to be in the beginning? And they suggest it. They recommend it. They come up with, even if it's 1 or 2 minutes, as long as we started something that we didn't do before, that's a great start. And the kids, again, are the ones involved. We ask them, we take their opinion, we're focusing on a solution here, and they come up with suggestions that can help in this solution. I feel that my husband prefers one son over the other. I know that this one is much better mannered than his brother. Yeah. Again, if we do this, and if we continue delivering a message to one kid over the other that they're not as preferred, or there is a special one, the favorite one, what is this leading up to? What's the feeling of the other kid who feels that he is not the favorite? Feels there's different kind of connection or dealing with his brother rather than him. It's not anything healthy. And my suggestion here is, if this is ongoing, and maybe the other kid, as you said, is better mannered, hey, this is your feeling, we can talk with the kid who is what, as you feel, is not the same, and ask him or tell him, these are the things that are not working well for you. I would like you to improve on them. Instead of making him feel that he is less, we can actually point out these things and guide him and help him to improve on, without comparison. I know you are good in this. I know you are very talented in that. But you know what? This is not working well. We need to change this. We need to have a better attitude or better manners in this or that. What can we do about it? This way, I'm not just comparing, I'm not just in my mind preferring, but I'm helping another kid who needs this kind of help and encouragement. Okay. So I think there's, we reached to all the questions actually that have come. Very interesting questions for this session. And I would like to encourage all of you, even after the session ends, if you still have questions, please bring them along using the QR code. And before we end, I want to put this in front of everyone. We talked about the warrior and the battles and the wars. And there's this Proverbs verse 31 in chapter 21. It says, the horse is prepared for the day of battle, but the deliverance or the victory is from the Lord. And what this tells us as warriors is we can do all things and everything, and maybe we can do everything right. We are ready for the battle. But let's remember, the outcome, the victory, is because God is there. He is the one who is working. The deliverance and the victory is from Him. If we do well, it's because of Him. If we're not doing so well, there's shortcomings. Well, God is going to perfect everything. And again, the deliverance is going to be of the Lord and the victory is going to be from Him. The final thing I would like to share the question, as Dr. Hani said in the beginning, if you scan this QR code and send us the answer, you'll be going into the names of the parents who will get a certificate of attendance at the end of this course. The question is, which psalm talks about the parent's role as a mighty man of war or a warrior? Psalm 11, 127, or 138. At the end, I would like to remind every parent that next week, actually tomorrow, we have a very interesting topic with Sylvia, and she's talking about how to protect our kids from adult content. As you will see in the next and upcoming sessions, we're going to be focused on the kids' issues, how to manage the issues that they face, the resilience, successful parenting, connection, and so on. And tomorrow is one of those very interesting and important topics. So at 9 p.m. again, Friday. Thank you so much, and God bless you all, and have a good night.